All right, so I appreciate everybody hop on today. Basically, what I want to do is go through a couple of features on Annuities Genius. If you were at a webinar that we did last week, it was with some of the new features with Grant AI, and I'm actually going to go through one of those new features again. We continue to get really good feedback from it. Also, I find it very relevant in your day-to-day business, especially when it comes to converting sales. I know that there's a lot of lead services out there that you can purchase leads, and a lot of those leads are not exclusive. And so this basically is going to help in a kind of a call it a competitive scenario when a prospective client may be getting multiple leads. And so let me pull this up. All right, share my screen. Um, and so the first one is general layout. I log in, I have my dashboard. I'm going to type in, I'm actually going to go to a case that I just put in a second ago. It's Linda Evans. And in this scenario, I am going to pull up, bear with me for 1 second. Um, a other, I'm going to upload another illustration that she got so that we can compare it. And so if I come back to my screen, oops, I am going to upload this right here. So I'm going to select an illustration, and then I'm going to ask the AI tool to analyze it. And so in this scenario, we're basically saying, hey, I have, Linda, my client. Let's say that I just purchased this lead, and she has another illustration that she's received from another agent, and we want to compare and see if there's a better option we can get on this one. And so right now it's basically taking what I just uploaded, and it's gonna take the current summary, and then I'm going to create um, another. It's going to run the analysis. And so I like to kind of pause through this and kind of so you can see how it's thinking, because the cool thing about Annuities Genius, or that Grant AI, I should say, is it's really thorough. And so it gives you kind of a background on how it's getting. And so in this case, it shows if we just review this one. So um, it's this client is 58 looking for an income option at 65 with $300,000. And so this is basically what it took from the illustration that we just uploaded. In this case, it came from another agent. And so we're looking at what other income options specifically with this one. And so it looks like current analysis. This is a breakdown of it. 23,000 a year is kind of the guaranteed income. And here's the top recommendation. So in this case, it went out and looked at the use our income calculator and looked at other products that we have access to. And it shows, okay, instead of 23,000, oh, this is a big difference. It's 38,000. And it's basically giving me a breakdown of key benefits. And then it has some alternative options. So what's awesome about this is you basically have a comparison right here. So here's the current product, and then it's going to go and show the difference of why it recommended this and kind of the breakdown. So what I'm going to say is, so this is a pretty big difference, as you can see right here. And you can see in a real live, like a real scenario where you are, someone's shopping around, which happens pretty frequently if you're buying leads. Um, if you can easily show them how this quote we're giving them is better, um, it makes this decision a lot easier when you're showing them, hey, we can get you 38 instead of 23. But let's just simplify it. So this is kind of easy, but let me I'm gonna say, can you, and this is I'm talking to the AI now, create a comparison with the um Oxford, I guess in this case, product and the what was the main comparison? I'll just put top recommendation and the top recommendation. All right, so let's just simplify it. So just instead of giving three options, we're just going to do one, and then hopefully that just cleans easy side-by-side comparison in this case. So here's the side-by-side that it's giving me. Um, Here's the breakdown. So income rider features, comparison. It's going to give me, in this case, kind of growth, the difference, and make it super easy for me to show. And so in this case, I'm going Oxford versus Equitrust, annual income, monthly income, basically side by side of all that. And I'm just going through this in real time. I can easily see kind of all this very easily. So now if I go to report and I download the report, this will create a PDF, and I can then, if I let me share my other screen now, 1 second, I'll show you the report that is the customer facing report that it's giving me. So now I can basically say, hey, Linda, here's a breakdown of what you sent me. Here's our side-by-side comparison. And in this case, this should be like a no-brainer when you send this over because it basically outlines everything really easily. And I can shoot this over to her, call her up, be like, all right, let's do this. Let's, get you signed up. And so I really like this new feature that we rolled out because I think it's very applicable for, most agents on a, day-to-day basis. I'm going to go back to my other screen now because it's a competitive, uh, environment out there, and anything that gives us the edge definitely helps. And this is great, but also anything that simplifies things is going to make it a lot easier as well. And so I like that. And so again, just reviewing how I got there and what I did. If this is the first time you've seen Annuity Genius, is from my dashboard. Give me 1 second. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. So for my dashboard, I already had Linda in the system, so I just clicked onto her case, and then I basically just went into the little chat box right here and uploaded a PDF file. So you can do this with statements. In this case, I did it with another illustration, and then I just asked it to compare. Pretty basic. And so I have my breakdown right here, and now I can move on um, to my next case. And so that took us, I didn't time it, but it took us, let's call it 10 minutes. And we're done. And so going back to like, I don't know like what your process is right now when it comes to your annuity sales process, especially when it comes to comparing a product. But I would have to assume like you either have to send that into like your marketer, or you have to basically pull up the current illustration that they gave you and then go find a quote and then put that into like, let's say like a Google Doc or a sheet, and then side by side is going to take you a minute. So if you're really fast and really good, maybe you could do that in an hour. But I think in most cases, it's going to probably take you a little bit longer than that, especially if you're working with a marketer that has to do it for you. Um, and we did it in 10 minutes. And so I really like to just to point out like how convenient this is and how much easier this can make your life just from like working efficiently. But most importantly, um, this is going to close the sale for you like probably 99 times out of 100 because it's kind of a night and day difference. You can see a side by side. It just makes it really easy to see. And so obviously we want our tools to help you sell better, and a big part of that is just simplifying the process. So when I present this to the client, super simple. It's basically I could just highlight two numbers. I could highlight 38,000 a year or $23,000 a year. And then we're good to go. Obviously, there's other factors and you can see the other benefits, but simplify things as much as possible are definitely going to help. And so I'll pause right there. Any questions with I'm just going to go to the Q&A. So it looks like first question is, can you make your screen larger? Yeah, I'll maximize as much as I can. And then the second question is, as far as limiting carriers, yes. So that brings up a good point. When you log into your account, what you'll do is you'll create a deck, is what we call it. And so I'll go current products, and I'll go create a new deck. And then basically what that's doing, so in this case, if I go to edit deck, I will select which carriers that I'm contracted with. So I'm only using or showing products that I can sell. And so obviously, when I'm especially presenting for a deal right there, or I'm doing this with a client, I don't want to be showing products that I'm not contact with, that I don't have access to. I only want to be showing products that I can. And so I would just come in, create a deck, save it, and then I would select that deck. So you can see this case I have, looks like a handful of them that I can go through. But good question. That's a question we get pretty frequently. Cool. So next question just gonna pull up the Q&A again, see what we have. Do we use Granite to get final comparison to product to client facing illustrations? Yeah, so you can do that on the illustration standpoint. You can do a smart allocate that'll allocate the product, and then it'll create the illustration that you can show as well. So let's take this opportunity now and let's use oh, so another question on the client face support, does Annuity Genius logo appear? So good news is you can actually put your own logo in. So no, the annuities, if you don't put in a one in, then by default, Annuities Genius is there, but you can brand it and customize it on your own. Yeah, Justin, you can do accumulation comparisons as well. This one was just focused on income, but you can set it up a bunch of different ways, whether it's increasing income, other type of riders. This scenario was just sheer income. And so, yeah, you can kind of narrow and filter it down to products and everything. So let's run a case in real time. So if someone on the chat wants to throw in a case, and we'll run that scenario through Grant AI and see what we can get. I think this is helpful, just instead of me just kind of going through all the different parts one by one. I like to kind of run real life scenarios. And so if someone doesn't mind typing in a case in there in the chat, then I will go through and we'll plug this in and we'll see what we can get. While I'm waiting for that, so going through the Q&A, how do we get to the client? Went through that through the dashboard. You can enter it in. So when I type it in, it'll enter in the client as well. If we don't have an illustration, can we ask AI? Yes. And then minimizing taxation is concerned, I could just enter that in. And then the detailed reasons behind increased income, rider fee, account charges. Yes. So it does account for most of those, and you can ask it specifically to put in that as well. And so, all right, Justin, looks like you're the first one to enter in a case. So we'll go. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Whoops. Let's see if it'll allow me to copy. So I don't think it's going to allow me to copy from the chat and paste. Try one more time. So I'm just going to type it in. All right. So it looks like Justin put in, we have 71-year-old female. Let's get back to the top. In Florida, wants to max bonus and overall performance for accumulation. All right, so I'm gonna just make up put in a couple more details. I'm gonna say, we'll say Janice, because it's gonna want a name, and just so we don't have to, we'll just start with this actually, and then we can do. So I'm gonna go create case. So I'll type it in here, and again, you can enter this in manually as well. The AI just makes it a little bit easier. So it's going to add Janice, Florida. It's going to take all those details. it's going to need a total investment. And so let's just go with, let's say that she has $250,000 that we're working with. I'll create client, and I'll say an account type was an IRA. So um, with um, with the AI in general, if you've used it, a lot of the power comes from prompts. And what I mean by that is prompting is what are you telling it to do? And you're kind of limited to what prompts you give it. It can kind of do as good as your prompts are, as typically as good as the output that you're going to get. And so if you don't have a lot of experience using AI, you may not really know what you don't know. And so we want to try to simplify that as much as possible. So once I enter in Janice, it basically puts in our info. And then I can now just say, hey, give me a recommendation. But I may not know or I need more info. And so it kind of gives me, it starts with three different prompts. So I can go into fact finding where I can basically come in if I type into that, it'll give me a almost like a personalized questionnaire with finding a lot more detail. So I'm not going to do that one right now. I can go into annuity strategy. So develop a tailored strategy based on the current goals. We'll probably need to do that because I don't really know like what her timeline is or anything like that when she needs access to this. Or I can just go right into product selection. So if I go into, if I tap on annuity strategy, it's going to go through and it's going to create like a comprehensive strategy on different options. And it'll go through like considerations that we'll probably need to solve this case because I don't know what her timeline is. Obviously, RMD is coming into play because I put it was an IRA and she's 71. And so it's going to go through and just kind of think out loud on basically brainstorming strategies on what we can do. And so it'll give me like a framework. And so as I go through this, we're basically going through this in real time. And so I may be reading this as I'm talking as well. But this is cool because as you're imagine, putting yourselves in the shoe of the agent now, which you are, as you're prepping for your client or creating a case, this basically empowers you to kind of go through and not only just do what you think is best but get really good recommendations because maybe there's a laddering strategy or maybe there's something you didn't even think of that would fit and be best for this agent and it gives you kind of a good idea on what would be best. And so now I have kind of recommended strategy, accumulation focused, um, why this fits her age, consideration, and then it's going to go through recommendation. So here's the recommendation. So bonus enhanced accumulation strategy based on this, FIA, um, immediate value, projected growth, RMD, how it works, year one. So I'm basically giving me like how it works, the key strategy components, what makes a difference, why we got here, important consideration, income needs, liquidity, all of that, which is all very important that you would want to gather. So you're kind of doing a thorough job. And so in this case, we need to clarify our highest premiums available in Florida in this case, all this. So what I'm going to do is I have kind of, what next steps are. And I'm going to say, so again, if I don't know what to say, this is like, I'm using this for the first time. I can type it in a question, or I can go things that I could ask. And these are just built-in prompts that'll help you figure out. And so in this case, like by stage, we're in the annuity strategy. I'm going to click on product selection. And then I'm going to say, based off of the established strategy profile, what we have, what's going to be, or it's going to give me a couple different product recommendations. And so now I'll wait for that to load up. It's going to take what we know. So what we know for sure is highest bonus product, best accumulation and growth performance. And then it'll give me a couple different actual product recommendations that I can start with. And again, this is kind of just a brainstorming process. So like I may not like the initial recommendations, or I may think of something else, or based on further conversations with the client, I can get better background on what would better fit her. And so just because it gives me an initial product recommendation, I can obviously, that gives me a baseline that I can make and change as needed. So in this case, here's kind of all the initial products. Bonus products, here's a recommendation of what it gave me, kind of why it gave me this one. So in this case, it's American Select, 10-year, 10 bonus plus, 23% in performance. It's going to basically continue giving me more detail specific to that product on why. And then it's going to show what alternatives. And then I can jump into side-by-side comparison, which is always nice. So I can compare like fees. And so what's cool about this is a lot of times you would have to go, I don't have to pull up like each individual annuity brochure or go into the details of it to kind of get a breakdown. It's basically going to give all that information right there for me. And I'm going through this and it'll now give me kind of these three products. And so as I'm going through this, I'm just going to go through questions. So can software best performing over the last 5 to 10 years? Yes. What products are those indexes best performing? Yeah. And so you can kind of designate like if there's specific indexes, like typically it's going to look for, it can look at multiple indexes. Like the default is typically going to be like S&P 500. It's one of the more common ones. But you can designate other ones as well. Let's see what other questions we had pop up before we continue going through this. Yes, we are recording this and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. All right. So now I have these three options on kind of what we can go through. So in this case, let's just go with this American Life one. That was the number one. Again, I can go back, I can ask additional questions right here. So if I go to like objection handling, like let's say that they're like, the customer's just like, hey, I was talking to my stockbroker and he said the fees are way too high with annuities. And she just comes and says that. And so I'm going to go objection handling. I'm going to go fees are too high. I'm going to click on that. And let's see what it says for us. And so now it's going to basically give me like a pretty detailed breakdown of what the fees are, comparing it. And then it'll probably give me some real world comparison with other potential products that they could use. And then what that would look like if they're in like a, just a general mutual fund or an index fund or an, they're paying just a general management fee. And so in this case, it's comparing to mutual funds. And so again, it's going to be pretty thorough. So it's going to give me not just like, hey, they're not always like, here's the fee. It's going to give me here's the fee, but here's the comparative fees that you're also could be paying with something else so that they can make a very educated decision. And you're kind of presenting an apples to apples comparison instead of just one thing to another. Again, a lot of times people hear annuities and they automatically think, or they've heard someone, on a podcast or read an article that annuities are really expensive. They're not the best. Da 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 da. And that's all they hear. They don't know the details. Now you're actually giving the details. We're like, actually, you know what? In this case, there is a fee, but in comparison to everything else, and the guarantees and everything, the other benefits that you get, it's actually not, it's not anything abnormal compared to other things. And so here's kind of the benefits of what it's giving me right here. It's going to give me some side by side and then key findings, what's the market downturn. So it's basically educating like on all not just the fee, but what is actually you're paying for and the trade-offs with other products. And so this is really cool because it's going to go through all of this if they're comparing with like just a regular mutual fund. And so I have all that. So wanted to show that because that's, something that you can actually use in real time. But if I go back up to the recommendations, it'll pull up the illustration brochure that I can go into. If I click on illustrate, it's going to open up the illustration into a separate tab. And now I have the client. I'll go to next step. It'll have the product in there, allocations. So here's the funds that it can be allocated in that I can choose from. If you want assistance on how to allocate it, we can do that with AI. I'll go to Smart Allocate and it'll actually analyze it and basically give me an automated allocation based off of a couple different bullet points that it will lay out right here. It's going 1 year point to point. It's going to use basically long-standing indexes, and it's going to diversify across multiple indexes in this case that it's set. So now I have that. Next step. Here's the riders that we currently have turned on. In this case, is the bonus rider. And then I can put in any customer withdrawals or anything else that I need to do. And here is the full breakdown in the illustration that's set up for them that I can then send over. And so pretty straightforward, but like as you can see, like if for the people that are new, a lot of this stuff you may not totally understand, and that's completely fine. But you at least have a baseline of how to get there, and you have now, if anything that I don't understand, I can just come back here and I can ask the AI. So, training and education, can you explain product features, sales techniques, um, again, additional objection handling. This is basically like my expert at my on my keypad that I can just type in and get assistance from. So let me go back. We're getting close to wrapping up as far as time goes. And so let me just go back and answer any additional questions. Our YouTube channel is just go to YouTube and type in Annuities Genius, and it'll be the first option. Um, all the info is saved underneath their profile. So if I jump out of this and I go into like my CRM part of it, and I have, Linda Evans that comes in now. Here's everything that I've gone through with Linda or that I've from the AI or quotes or whatever. If I go back and now Janice called me and I need to get reminded, oh, okay, what's Janice's situation again? I'll scroll back up and here's my whole history of everything with her. Are there any plans to do unlimited number of illustrations per month? So yeah, we have it. It's right now it's by case. And the illustrations are either directly from the carrier and with a handful of them, or they're illustrations that we created from the data that we get from the carriers. Is every carrier on Annuities Genius connected to eApp? Currently, so we do have Firelight. So with if the IMO is if the IMO that you're working with will turn on their Firelight to our Firelight, and then yes, you can do the e-signature. Can you export the grant analysis to our CRM such as Box? Yes, you can export, or depending on kind of how you're importing it to your CRM, it is possible. And then let me just see if we have any Q&A answers before we wrap it up. I think we covered them all. But I appreciate everybody hopping on. We do these every Wednesday now. With the holidays for the next 2 weeks, we will be taking these off, since next week it's going to be Christmas Eve. And then the following week, it'll be New Year's Eve. Hopefully, you are enjoying time with loved ones. And we will get back going on the New Year. So I appreciate everybody hopping on. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or anybody in our office, or hit up our website for additional resources as well. And we appreciate everybody hopping on and hope to see you at our next webinar next year. All right, everybody have a great afternoon.